Well, it's great to be here. I'm I'm fortunate that I grew up in churches. I grew up in central Indiana, farmland around Indianapolis, and we I really was as a young boy. I didn't have a choice. I was going to be in church on Sunday mornings, and I treasure those memories because a lot of folks didn't grow up in that environment. So this is faith has always been, we all have had our different walks with the Lord, and I accepted Christ when I was 12 years old, and I can tell you it's not been a straight line, my walk with the Lord since then. But I treasure that good foundation that my family members gave me by having me in church regularly, going to vacation Bible school every summer, doing all the youth group activities that so many kids in my community did not get a chance to do or did not have that exposure. And we all know in this room, way too few kids today are getting that exposure. So we've got a lot of work to do, not just across the county, but in Clearwater, because we've got a community that didn't grow up the way I did. So we've got lots of challenges, and always when I talk to these groups, like to tell you two things. One, why I'm running, and some things that I want to do. And we got big issues, as everybody knows, in Clearwater that we need to address. The first one is why I'm running, and really told a group of pastors the other day. It come down to two men this summer. Frank Hibbert was our mayor in Clearwater for years, and he, I think, 13 years altogether, he served as mayor. And Frank's a member of Calvary Church with me, and I watched the way Frank led. And he was not afraid if somebody was being outrageous or saying something that wasn't true or accurate. He was never afraid to call them out on it and say, well, that is not accurate. This is actually what happened. I was there, and what you just said was not accurate. And I always respected Frank for that, and the fact that he led in a conservative, a logical, a reasonable way. And so when he resigned over a spending issue that we had in Clearwater, it just wasn't right. They wanted to spend $90 million on a city hall. When we've got so many needs for fire and police and spending money on people, and we've got many, like in your community, we've got a lot of folks really hurting right now with insurance costs, inflation, all these other things that we've gotten from the Biden administration the last 3.5 years. We didn't need to be spending $90 million on a city hall. And so I admired Frank for his conviction to stand up to make that such a big news story that they backed off, and now they're going to spend about half that on that building. And so I admired Frank, and I didn't see anyone stepping forward really that was going to lead like him. The only one is my opponent now, and she will not lead like Frank ever. And so I'm going through this, and nobody's stepping forward, and I really don't want to see her be mayor. And my pastor Willie Rice preached a sermon series this summer, and I won't try to butcher his very good sermon series, but in a nutshell, he challenged our church and those of us in the congregation to stand for the truth. And I told the story the other day. Abraham Lincoln used to tell a riddle, and it was, how many legs does a dog have if you count the dog's tail as a leg? Anybody know the answer? Yeah. It's 4, because calling a tail a leg does not make it a leg, okay? And all of you see on the news every night, where I saw a news story the other night, some young girl, young, I think she was over the age of 18, but she came out, she's identifying as a robot. Yeah. So it's gotten so crazy, and that's what Pastor Willie's sermon series was this summer. He says, at some point, we have to stand up and say, enough. This is not, we can't, because the more we just keep letting them push forward without any resistance, we just have to stand up. And he really called on the congregation, us individually, to look at our own lives and see what we could do to stand for the truth. And so I'm going through that, not seeing anybody who's really running against my opponent who's like Frank. And I'm going through this sermon series with Pastor Willie, and it was just time. I just decided I was going to step forward. So that's why I'm running today. Yeah. And we've got big issues in Clearwater. You know, speaking of calling a tail a leg, we have an organization called Scientology in Clearwater, and they like for people to call them a church, and they some people they even call them the church, and the IRS may say that they're a church, and they may want me to call them a church, but they're not a church, so I don't intend to call them a church. Now, I have to be fair to everybody, but we need to address that issue. I talked with reporters of Tampa Bay Times today, and they have accumulated 200 parcels of land in Clearwater in the last 7, 8 years. So we've got to address that. And as mayor, I'm gonna lead our community in addressing it. We've got to just have some tough conversations with them and figure that out. So that's one of the big things. 8 out of 10 people I talk to in Clearwater, that's their number one issue. So we're going to do what the people want, and we're going to listen to the people constantly on issues, because those are the folks who elected us. And we need to remind our staff in Clearwater, they don't work for me, they work for the people and for the voters. And too often our staff, we have good staff, good people on our staff, but too often they forget. At the end of the day, they answer to the voters just like the elected officials. So we're going to lead in a different way, and I'm excited about the opportunity. We could use your support in any way. Financial contributions are always important. These races aren't inexpensive. Word of mouth, if you could share my name with others, that would help a lot. But I can tell you, at the end of the day, at the end of this campaign, and every night when I go to bed, I'm going to pray. And I'm going to lie down thanking God for the opportunity to run for mayor of Clearwater and to serve as mayor of Clearwater. And knowing that every day we've fought as hard as we possibly could to keep Clearwater a great city, a city that was founded on, like our country, on God, and we're respecting people of faith, and that we are going to keep it a great city in the best state in the greatest country on earth. Thank you for your time tonight, and I appreciate your support.